It's rare that a game surprises me. For the most part, you can kinda tell exactly what a game's gonna be. This, it's not going to be very good. Don't even bother. This, literal peak, someone give me $90 right now. But for the first time that I can remember, I was wrong in about every single way. Meet Abiotic Factor, a game from a small company called Deep Field Games. With only one other game under their belt, dating back to 2016, I was doubtful of the quality of the game when I first saw it. Looking at the Steam page didn't really help either. The first thing I noted was the dated graphics and the clear Half-Life inspiration, which led me to believe that it was a low-effort clone. On top of this, being so new and relatively unknown, there was almost no information about it online, other than a few YouTube Let's Plays. This intrigued me, and being that it was a free demo and also multiplayer, I thought it would only be fair to give it a go. What I didn't know at the time was I was about to be thrusted into one of the most fun, memorable, and terrifying co-op horror survival experiences, and further, one of the most interesting takes on a Half-Life inspired game. The game drops you straight in with an extremely simple character creator. Here, you can choose from a small selection of hair, clothes, faces, and one of two voices. It is here that the first bits of Half-Life influence become very clear. Many of the customization options are very reminiscent of the Half-Life scientists, and by the end of customizing, I had my very own Half-Life scientist OC. Next is picking a class. Here we have all of the classes you'd expect. The lab assistant is good for stealth builds, having points in sprinting and sneaking stats. The biomedical engineer is the healer, having points in first aid, and so on and so forth. However, you'll notice that to the right of each class is a number. This is the number of points that the player will start with, each point being used to buy traits. Having chosen the whatever this word is class, a tank style build, I started with just 8 points to my name. However, I saw an opportunity in the bad traits. By picking a bad trait, you can get some pretty nasty debuffs, but in return you are granted a bunch of extra points. And so I did what any sane person would and chose all of the bad traits. Using the extra points, I would then buy all of the good traits. This resulted in me having a whole 15 points left by the end, as some of the traits are locked when their bad counterpart is picked. While in some games this would make the experience miserable, funnily enough here, it resulted in what I think is the most balanced experience. With many of the good and bad perks directly canceling each other out, I think that choosing all the good and bad perks ended up putting me at a perfect base point. Finally, the tutorial begins. You find yourself in the passenger seat of a car, with a man sitting next to you in the driver's seat. Out the windows, all you can see is miles of desert, with the hot glowing sun beaming down on you. The man starts to speak. He tells you about your position, mentioning how you're a scientist being transferred to one of the gate company's new labs. You're dropped off at a seemingly random spot and are told to head down the hill to a small shack, sitting in the middle of the desert. Before you can ask any questions, your driver is halfway down the road, leaving you in the dust. You walk down the hill, noticing cameras placed around the area, but the lab is still nowhere to be seen. You knock on the door and a guard lets you in.
Okay, you're the transfer, huh? You sure picked a day. Things a bit hectic downstairs this morning.
A door opens, leading down into the floor. It seems that the shack was just a decoy, and the lab itself stretches for miles underground. You hop in, slowly finding out more about the lab and the gate company. What do they study here? Portals to alien worlds, and something isn't quite right today. As you work through the tutorial, learning the ropes, it slowly becomes clear that something isn't right, and by the time your training is over, something has seemingly gone wrong with the portals, and as part of the emergency protocol, you are sent down to the first level of the facility. This is as blatant as the Half-Life inspiration gets. It's very clear that the lab setting paired with the alien portal aspect is directly taken from Half-Life 1, but this is not a negative in this case. The game masterfully uses these borrowed aspects to create a new, unique experience that feels like it could run adjacently to the world and lore of Half-Life, with a new survival horror twist. Level 1 is where the game really starts, and is the location of your home base. Welcome to the Cafeteria, a place that, despite the supposed emergencies, seems completely normal, if a little empty. At least you have your friends with you. With the main doors being locked, you take a vent into a storage area, which leads you finally to your living quarters. Here you have a kitchen and a living room, with a couch to sleep on and a few desks. After settling down a bit, you notice your needs. All of the survival staples are here: hunger, thirst, and sleep. For hunger, monsters can be killed for their meat, but it isn't quite that simple. While you may have a basic weapon, without a cooking knife, you won't be able to extract the meat. This is the butchering mechanic. While fairly straightforward, already the game is making small tweaks to how survival games tend to work. Now you're forced not only to carry a weapon, but a knife as well, making the limited inventory feel even tighter. After butchering, however, comes cooking. While the home base does have a stove, in our playthrough somehow the panel above the stove broke, leaving us with a single element for cooking. This was annoying on its own, but paired with the cooking mechanic itself, it became super tedious. For meat to cook, you must wait about 30 or more full seconds, but you can't leave, as if you miss the cooked meat by the slightest amount of time, it will burn and lose a considerable amount of its value. But not cooking the food isn't an option either, as it will leave you with a meal that provides little to no nutrients and leaves you vomiting all over the place. Water, however, is fairly simple. Around the facility, many water coolers can be found. These come fully loaded with water and can be transported to your home base by packaging them. Upon emptying the water cooler, water from the center of the map can be cooked and used to refill them. If this isn't your style though, you can either buy a soda with the little money you have, or kill one of these guys. But we'll talk about that later. Finally, we have sleep. To sleep, you need to have a couch. By lying down on the couch, a shitty no-internet dinosaur game will trigger, and by winning, your sleep bar will be filled. What I didn't expect was how vital sleep would become later on. Aside from these basic needs, a few more are also present. The first is the cleanliness meter. Certain acts, for example killing and vomiting, can lead to you getting dirty. I never ended up having to worry about this too much, however, since you can clean at any full water cooler or sink. Next is the radiation meter, obviously used to show how irradiated you are. For the most part, you get irradiated by eating the monster meat, but later on there are areas that inflict a high amount of radiation. To cure this, iodine can be found in the later areas of the game. You also have to keep an eye on your heat, as on cold nights, you may get a prompt that you are cold. Upon making a heater to fix this issue, however, I noticed almost no difference. Unless you're willing to stand in front of the heater for hours of in-game time, you will never be heated up, as the bar moves extremely slowly. So I opted instead to let myself freeze, which never ended up leading to any bad outcome. Finally, you'll notice an abundance of bathrooms around the lab. This is related to the shit meter, a literal meter that shows you how much you need to shit. This includes a mini game where you time your shits to ensure an easy release. While this mechanic can lead to some funny situations, it ultimately doesn't really mean much, and ignoring it just means shitting yourself, which aside from making you dirty is just embarrassing. Having taken care of these meters, me and my friends start exploring the lab, but quickly come to find out that the lobby doors are locked. An alien has broken the doors, and a man on the other side tells us to make an energy brick to power the doors and open them again. He gives us a crafting recipe. Recipes do not come complete, however, and this is where the unique crafting mechanics are on full display. Usually, recipes are found by picking up new items or interacting with emails. These emails are found on computers with the Gate company logo on them, and come attached with a funny little photo. Clicking on these photos grants the player a crafting recipe. These recipes are merely blueprints though, and there are a few more steps necessary to fully unlock a recipe. First, you must find the recipes by scavenging out in the facility. Second, you must complete the blueprint in the crafting menu. To do this, you are given a few icons of ingredients that might be used in the recipe. You then put them into the open slots, each colored for the type of item required, and then you press the brain button. Doing this will either reject or confirm an item, telling you through trial and error which items are needed. While this may seem a little redundant since you can just try it as many times as you want, it's actually welcomed in my eyes. With the way that recipes are slowly fed to you, it feels more special to find one when there's a fun, simple minigame attached to it. It's simple, but gives you yet another reason to find more recipes, aside from just the progression aspect. To actually do the crafting itself is another story. While some recipes can be made by hand, others require a crafting bench, which in turn requires power. This is where the power outlets come in, another unique feature of the game. Most rooms have at least one power outlet, which can be used to power one appliance. However, with the use of the power bar, the plug can be split into two additional plugs. With our crafting bench powered, we grab the materials we need by destroying PCs with the hammer tool, and then we craft the item. We repair the door, resulting in an unfortunate death, but also the opening of the rest of the map. This is the main hub of level 1 and connects all of the other important areas. Here, 2 robots can be found, but they seem to be deactivated for now. We notice stairs leading up to another layer of the lobby. Here, we meet a person who, in their dying breath, gives us one goal: get to manufacturing. We walk down the hallway and enter the first door on the right. Welcome to the offices, the place where you will do a bulk of your looting. Featuring many desks, each fitted out with their own PCs, this is a goldmine for CPUs, electronics, glass, plastic, coils, and other important items used in most recipes. There's also assorted furniture that can be packaged and rebuilt in the home base, with a small chance of destroying the furniture depending on the specific item. One such piece of furniture is the standing lamps in the area. While they seem useless at first, lighting is extremely important. The home base can get pitch black sometimes, so any light source is a precious commodity. On top of this, for some reason the lamps don't need to be plugged in to work, and instead seem to have an infinite battery. This is true of many of the lamp type items, but the standing lamp is special because it's the only one that can be used to craft a spear later in the game. After getting distracted by a slushy machine, me and my friend made our way through the office, looking to get as much stuff as possible. It was then that we got cornered by a basic enemy, a carbuncle, and a beast type enemy. The basic enemies are found everywhere, appearing in the most random of places simply to ruin your day. They do minimal damage, and to die to one even early game is really difficult. With their small size, however, they can be hard to hit, and it doesn't make it better that they attack by swinging around on their tongues, allowing them to fly around you, making hitting them even harder. Despite this, they are little more than a pain, and so taking them on has little risk. C-grade enemy. The carbuncle is a landmine looking enemy that is activated by sound. It will target you if it hears you walking near it. It then traps you with its tongue, pulling you into its body. The carbuncle is very slow, however, and with a few well-placed kicks, you can easily kill it. The real danger comes when another alien is in the area, in which case the carbuncle becomes 100 times scarier. Now, its job isn't to kill you, but rather just to keep you in place long enough for the other alien to do so. And this forces you to make the call of taking damage and killing the carbuncle first, or killing the other alien first and then dealing with the carbuncle. Still, this is a low risk enemy. Watch your step. C-grade enemy. The beast, however, is a different story. Having seen this alien kill a man earlier, it was clear that it was dangerous. Being that it's on all fours, it can be very fast sometimes too, removing the option of running away. On top of this, when they glow purple, it's an indication of their dash move, which has them charging into you for massive damage. Weapon choice is extremely important here too. While you can charge in with a weapon like a knife, the main weapon my team was using at this time, this almost guarantees that you get hit within an inch of your life, even if you're with a friend. This can lead to bleeding out, in which you lose health slowly over time. This is significant because other than the syringe item later on, there is no way of healing yourself other than waiting for natural regen. However, bandages can be used to stop bleeding, and having started with 5 of them, I quickly learned their value. The problems don't end here though. Even with later game items like spears, these aliens can be vicious, being best handled from afar. This means that any point in the game, if they get the jump on you, they can quickly become a big issue. High risk, do not engage. B-grade enemy. After somehow surviving this fight, we duct tape up our broken weapons, and my friend leaves to deliver the meat to our cook. And for the first time, I'm alone and away from home. This gives me a chance to further explore the office. Digging around a bit, I notice that there's more to the office than I first noticed. The office itself is suspended over a large cave, reaching deep down into a dark abyss. Papers are scattered all over the ground, and there are signs of a clear struggle. There's also a train station here, supposedly used by employees to traverse the different layers of the lab. The train is locked at a different station, and will be for the rest of the demo. My biggest discovery though is a security pack, giving me a massive amount of inventory space, and a lead vest, a 5 armor chest armor that I would use until the end of the game. On my way home, I catch a glimpse of a new area. The pool, a small sub-area that we only really visited once, despite the abundance of drinkable water. I begin to head back to base. I'm just about home when an announcement plays over the intercom, notifying employees that night is coming in an hour. A feature that I had completely missed up to this point is the watch, an item integral for planning your days. Doing some testing, we quickly find out that each hour is about 2 minutes in real time, and so I have 2 minutes to get home before something bad happens. I'm just outside the cafeteria when the lights shut off, but luckily my friends are with me now. The lab is dark and cold, and it's impossible to see even a foot in front of you. But soon, this is the least of our problems, as it seems the robots have woken up. These robots, which I previously assumed to protect the employees, are not so kind. While they do attack aliens as well, its main target seems to be us, leaving us running for our lives. They have a charge attack though, and so listening for the sound cues is important to avoid getting one-tapped. Luckily, the robots are quite slow, and running is simple enough, but attacking them is out of the question. With their huge health pools and the threat of a one-tap just by being near them, these robots are invincible, and will be the main consideration when deciding to go out at night. There's another problem though. After getting back into the base, it's pitch black, with only a few lamps lighting up the room. On top of this, as I go to craft some of my new recipes, I realize that something's wrong. All of the power is cut off at night, and this includes the power outlets. We are stuck here, cold, afraid, and with nothing to do, except maybe watch TV, which is miraculously still on despite the cutting of all power to the lab. We survive our first night, coming out low on water and food. At this point in the game, we decide to give someone the job of cook, which meant that for the rest of the playthrough, food and water stopped being an issue. This is especially true with the creation of the water bottle and the thermos, one letting us carry water and the other soup, a both hunger and thirst-filling meal. Once again, along with one of my friends, we make our way further into the lab, making it to level 2. Level 2 is a huge sprawling floor, featuring many doorways to other places. The entrance acts as a lobby featuring a load of doors, all locked by various means such as keypads. This is a problem. To the right is a series of offices and a kitchen, all leading back in a loop. Going straight leads to a broken elevator and a locked door seemingly leading to the living quarters. Finally is the left side, which leads to some sort of test site, but the two doors here are locked by a keypad and a broken security console respectively. We decide to repair the security console first, as we don't know where to find a device to hack open the keypad, and the security console only requires an energy brick. On our way back, however, we find some huge recipes, the crossbow and the spear. Being made of fairly basic materials, the crossbow would instantly become my main weapon, allowing me to pick off enemies from afar. Even B grades don't look too scary from far away. The spear, on the other hand, would be adopted by my teammates, allowing for melee combat with less risk. We also find a man hiding in a closet, trembling in fear. He notes that he heard gunfire, and that something was terribly wrong. It seems that the military is here. The situation may be more serious than we think. We make it home in the nick of time, being on the verge of exhaustion. Sleep is becoming more and more important now, as day trips often result in a fully depleted sleep bar. We must watch out for this. The next day, with new weapons in hand and a newly made energy brick, we make our way back to the locked door, this time with a group of 3. We place the energy brick in, and the lift to level 3 is revealed, along with the entrance to the lower test site on level 2. Before entering level 3, we take a quick look into the lower test site. The test site is fairly empty, with the actual testing taking place on level 3. We notice a man sitting near a forklift. The man gives us a mission, to find a person who knows about power cells necessary to fix the forklift. In turn, we can gain access to the manufacturing sector. With this goal in mind, we head up to level 3. Within seconds of getting to level 3, we see something unexpected. A room filled with dead scientists. The signs of a struggle laid bare for all to see. This is the portal room, supposedly the source of the emergency, but something isn't right. It just doesn't seem feasible that such a small portal could cause this much chaos. It is clear that something on a larger scale is going on here. A whiteboard tells us a little bit about what we're seeing. This is a standard portal leading to a place called Anteverse II, 2. However, it's not a one-way trip. It seems that a portal on the other side of the Anteverse leads back to the lab, effectively using the Anteverse as a quick way of traveling from place to place. This discovery confounds the writer, as the word "how" is written on the board in big letters. It seems that besides the fact that they have accessed an alien world, the real value might be in the potential for new teleportation transportation. The final detail on the board is written in the dead center in red ink: take iodine. This is clearly hinting towards the possibility that the alien world is highly irradiated. We take some iodine off the dead scientists and make our way back home to regroup. Not before I fall into the portal by accident, getting a glimpse at Anteverse II, and a new enemy type as well. I hop back through the portal and hurry home before anything can happen. At home, we start making some major upgrades. I craft a melee weapon and a helmet that I end up using for the rest of the game. This is the Teeth Club, made from the skull of a beast type, among other things. It's slow but strong and defeats even beast types in 2 to 3 hits. Made from the same skull is a helmet that provides a little less armor than the lead vest, but we take what we can get. We also find a way of powering appliances even at night. With the use of the battery, we can collect power during the day, and by nightfall we have a full battery to attach to anything that needs power. Night is slowly becoming a little less scary. On top of this, we make a portable stove, a version of the stove with more than one element, and also we can move it around if we so choose. With that, food is becoming less of an issue. We go back to the portal the next day as a group of 3. We're kitted out with good weapons, food, soup, and all of the iodine one could ask for. We are over prepared. After spending an hour looking for a bathroom because someone forgot to shit, we make it back to the portal room. Confidently, we march into the portal. What I don't notice is that my sleep meter is already significantly depleted. This could be bad. We emerge on the other side of the portal in Anteverse II. It's beautiful. The first area is covered in strange, multicolored plants rising high up above our heads. They almost resemble some sort of underwater plants, though to say this would take away from their uniqueness. We hack our way through the brush, leading into an opening where I spotted the new type of alien. This is the teleporting alien. Having some resemblance to the beast type, the teleporter alien is standing on 2 legs, with blue and red markings all over its body. Without even fighting it, it's clear that it's a threat. With the power to teleport across wide areas on a whim, the teleporter alien is hard to track. When you do manage to catch sight of it, you better act fast, because the alien will often teleport away right as you attack it, negating the hit. It likes being at a distance as well, with its main attack being a purple projectile that shreds through health. The crossbow has never been so useful, and we dispose of the teleporter alien, though it was very taxing despite having 3 people. Extreme risk. Do not approach unless with a team. A-grade enemy. Right away, we are pitted up against another one, but this time we manage to get out with minimal damage. This specimen is lost, however, as the teleporter decides to die right on the edge of a cliff, where it fell off before we could harvest it. Asshole. We learn a bit about Anteverse II from a hologram a little further ahead. This world seems to be a place between places where time and energy flow slower. Many of these worlds exist with slight variation. Further, the life here is complex and highly evolved, and the plants are dense with energy. It's a world that's thriving despite the strange conditions. We come to the end of Anteverse II, where we find another portal seemingly sending us to another location in the lab. Eager to leave this place, we jump in without a second thought. Not before we get the prompt that the portal failed to teleport. At first, we thought this was a lore thing, but actually it was a gameplay error. For most portals, you have to hop in multiple times for it to work because of a bug with the game. But I'll be nice and write it off as intentional to show how the portals may be unstable, or something like that. We emerge on the other side of a locked door in level 3. We open it, granting us a quick path home without the need of the portal. The path ahead is covered in water, all electrocuted by nearby wiring. We carefully make our way across, taking care not to step on the water. On the other side of the water is another office space, but this one's a little different. Clearly made for the higher ups, these offices are bigger and include items that we haven't seen much of before. Screws, magazines, and binders line the walls of each office, unlocking a host of new recipes. The centerpiece of this area is a large window viewing the portal that we had entered mere hours before. To be overlooking it now made our progress feel tangible, though the best best part about the area was the abundance of vital facilities. Bathrooms, couches, and water coolers could be found all over the place, and a small staff kitchen even had some leftover food. I break off from the group to search the left side of the area, where I find something that blows the game wide open. Recipes for a keypad hacker and an infrared emitter, one of the items needed for the keypad hacker, are both attached in an email in the corner office PC. Though we can't quite make the hacker yet, this is a huge step towards that goal, allowing us to access a huge number of previously locked doors. Being on the verge of exhaustion, however, we decide to take a break here, resting up before deciding how to proceed. After a quick rest, we find a continuation of level 3, though it's not the office that we've come to expect. Rather, it is seemingly a lobby area leading to a test site. Once again, the doors are locked by a keypad, but there are a few side doors that are unlocked, one leading us to a Dr. Mayfield, one of the few surviving scientists. She cuts straight to the chase, telling us to make a hacker as it will allow us to get closer to the Powercells. She warns us that to make the hacker, all 3 components necessary require robot CPU, dropped by the invincible security robots that terrorized us that first night in the lab. Even if we can get the CPUs, we need a lot of other items too, as all of the CPUs need to be crafted into a computational brick, which in turn is used in the recipes for the controller, the LCD screen, and the infrared emitter. No matter how you look at it, this is gonna suck. With night fast approaching, we run back home, hoping to get those CPUs tonight. Usually we would be more cautious, but by this point, the lab is starting to wear us down. We haven't seen the sun since we've gotten down here, let alone gone outside. The sickly LED lighting of the lab is starting to take its toll too. We're lower on energy, and the prolonged exposure to the artificial light is straining on the eyes. The worst of it all is the total stillness of the lab. Having wiped out most of the aliens in the early areas of the lab, these places are completely empty. They stand still, remaining the way they were when the emergency started. These places where humans once thrived feel so removed from any human influence. It's the most isolating feeling in the world. We've been here for too long. We need to speed this up. We need to get those CPUs tonight. 1 hour until we face the invincible robots. We don't know if we'll be successful, but regardless, we need to try. After all, it's looking like our only out. I craft extra bolts for my crossbow, and we all repair our weapons. 30 minutes left. I'm getting antsy, and so I head out to grab some items for the hacker. I cut it too close, and I'm caught by the darkness. The hour is up, and I just so happen to be caught right by a robot. We aren't going in completely blind, however. From our first encounter with them, we know that they are strong enough to kill you in one hit, but are also slow and bulky. They have a charge attack, but by listening to sound cues, you should be able to avoid it. The real trouble comes with the killing part. While we may be able to survive the robot, killing it seems like an impossible task. It will be slow, and the key will be to stay aware for the whole fight, no matter how long it ends up being. One slip up, and it's all over. I begin loading my crossbow, keeping the robot at a distance while making my way back to the base. Despite being pitch black, I've come to know the lab. In my pursuit of an escape from it, the lab has come to take up a huge part of my mind, and I know every nook and cranny that it hides. As I make my way home, I manage to do a huge amount of damage, pumping shots into the robot over and over again. The fight seems almost manageable right now, though the end is still nowhere in sight. As I approach the door of the base, I'm notified that a second robot has awakened. Its red glowing eyes stare directly at me. It's now a 2v1. I make a break for it, trying to get closer to my friends. While it works, I also take a charge attack to the face. However, our armor is better now, and the hit takes but a quarter of my health. I get careless again. As my friend gains the attention of the first robot, I go to join him, running straight past the second robot. Predictably, I take another hit, 50% health left, and with no way to heal since the robots deal bludgeoning damage, a damage type that isn't healed with bandages. Now, the robots are closing in on our base, their red lights illuminating the whole cafeteria. Finally, after what feels like hundreds of bolts, the first bot goes down, but the second one is pursuing my friend, who has nothing but a spear. We thought that the spears might do it, as it offers a solid amount of range, but rather this range is a curse. By pure chance, spears seem to put the user directly in the range of the robot's charge attack. This resulted in my friends taking multiple hits, each one of them being brought down to a quarter of their health. I feel like we're close though, and so I double down on the attack, and eventually the second robot falls. That's 2 CPUs down. Curiously, the robots also drop soda for some reason, so if you're ever thirsty and don't got the money to buy one, you can always just kill a robot for some sweet soda. After the fight, I can safely say the robots are an A-grade enemy. Not quite as scary as the teleporter alien, but still capable of messing you up, even with a group. Morning comes and we return home with our spoils, but get an odd warning message. The air feels strange. Be on guard tonight. We are left confused for a moment, not sure what's to come. Whatever it is, we have until tonight to prepare. For now, the most important thing is that I've made the controller and the infrared emitter. Just one more item to go, and we finally have the hacker. Before nightfall, my friends start making shields from food trays. While blocking a full hit sounds good at first, I never ended up using one, as to use that hand for anything else, you first have to unequip the shield. This makes little things like checking the clock really annoying and tedious. More importantly, we find out that we can trigger the robots manually by breaking their charging stations. Me and my friend, two of us now wielding crossbows, head over to the nearest robot and take it down, taking only one hit total. I grab some extra PC parts, and using the last robot CPU, I make the LCD screen, and then subsequently the hacker itself. Night is finally here, and we get the message once again. The air feels different. We're nervous, expecting something crazy to step out of the darkness any second. We get another message. A portal storm has started. What we come to figure out is that this means the gates to the Anteverse will begin rapidly opening around the facility, including inside of our base. At the time, I thought that the event was triggered by us killing the robots the night before, but looking back, it seems to be a random event. Being that the threat can now spawn in our base, we realize another thing. Throughout the game, we've gotten multiple base defense items such as barriers and saw blades. However, thinking the base was secure, we never ended up using these until now. We try using the saw blade, which seems good at first, but becomes less enticing when you realize that it needs a power plug to work, making it completely useless without a dedicated battery. Even then, the battery would have to be placed near a plug itself, narrowing down the locations where the saw can be placed. Ultimately, these items become useless for these reasons, and it's far more effective just to attack head on. Whether through luck or by design, the event is not nearly as scary as we imagined. For one, the only enemy that spawned for us were the basic C-grade enemies. On top of this, while they did spawn in the cafeteria, they never spawned in the base itself. The only threat here was our own stupidity when one of my friends opened the door to go poop, allowing about 40 C-grades to come flooding into the base. We just barely survive, and just as fast as it came, the event ends. To be completely honest, the event is a little underwhelming. With no real threat, you can almost just ignore this event completely and still be okay. On top of this, it only lasted about 3 minutes for us. Another odd design choice. The main saving grace was the terror that the initial warning message instilled in us. We fully expected some crazy alien to come and ruin our lives, but that wasn't quite the case. In the full game, I would like to see more events like this, but maybe some that are a bit more impactful. Regardless, with that event dealt with, I wait for morning before heading out, hacker in hand. I head to level 2 to open all of the locked doors. Here I find a game-changing item, 9mm ammo, hinting towards a gun being hidden somewhere in the lab. With the crossbow being as good as it is, having a direct upgrade like a gun could be borderline overpowered. I also find a class 2 keypad, a door that, even with a hacker, cannot be opened. This door is never opened in the demo, which either hints at the first area itself getting more content, or the idea that you can backtrack to these areas later in the game. Either way, it's a sign of just how much more this game is going to have to offer upon full release. I keep moving and rediscover the first door we saw with the keypad on it, found right next to the level 3 door we opened with the energy brick earlier. This door leads to a large break room type area, overlooking the lower test site. The area features a lounge, a locker room, and most importantly, a shooting range. Here, I pick up the security pistol, a powerful weapon that doesn't work. Every time I pulled the trigger or tried to reload, I would be stopped by the message, "Something is preventing the weapon from firing." I would later find out that despite being an ordinary looking gun, this is due to a biometric lock, requiring biometric arm wraps to be unlocked. I would never find this recipe or the item itself in my playthrough, and what I can tell from people online, most other people can't either. I was able to attach my flashlight to it, however, which without the gun working didn't seem to function properly as a flashlight. So I'm down one flashlight and up one disappointment. Regardless, I move on, back to Dr. Mayfield, who who told us to make the hacker to begin with. Here, we can now gain access to another test site. Upon opening the door, I find a teleporter alien, a creature that we have not yet seen outside of the Anteverse. There must be a portal behind these doors. I defeat it carefully and head farther into the test site. At the end of the hall is a control room overlooking an empty platform. As I walk up to the window, I see another keypad, this one used to ignite the portal, as we find out from a soldier dying on the ground, evidently having lost to the teleporter alien from before. He begs us not to turn the portal back on, citing it as the reason this whole emergency happened. I ignore him. We've come too far to give up now. I start the ignition process, and in a flash of pink light, a large white portal is opened. Our quest has now become enter the portal to recover the power cells. The design of this area is very intentional here. To get in, not only do you need the right authorization, but even beyond that, there is another door behind which is another keypad used to trigger the portal. This test site has 3 layers of security. This is in direct contrast to the first test site, where we found our first portal. There, the entrance into the test site was just 1 elevator away, an elevator to which all employees would have access under normal circumstances. The difference in security is clearly used to show the player that something much scarier waits on the other side of this portal. I head downstairs, following a trail of blood leading to the entrance to the portal room. In this room, I find a hazmat suit. We'll probably need this when we go into the portal. I decide that for now, I'll at least walk up to the portal, and upon getting close, I'm given a warning. It tells me that I should prepare before heading into this portal, as we won't be able to come back to the facility for a while. I head back home to prepare for what might be the final stretch. The power cells are so close. We go all out this time. I make 2 more crossbows and tons of bolts. On top of this, we make some armor out of magazines found at level 3. We make food, fill all of our meters, and we all head out to go through the portal. After dying to a glitch and having the server randomly crash on us, we finally make it to the portal. A fog covers the ground and the portal pulsates with energy. We hop in and appear in the middle of a dense city block with the outline of office buildings visible in the distance. This doesn't seem to be the Anteverse. We seem to be in a treehouse, sitting in the yard of a large blue house. The fog is dense here, and despite the large number of cars, there's no one in sight. This place is just like the lab. At one time, this place may have been human, but it has long since been abandoned. We head through the garage, which leads out into the street. Here, we find a door leading to a grocery store. The grocery store is almost completely empty, with only a few items left to be picked up. More importantly, there's a soldier here, dead on the ground in front of a door. We look through the door and see something waiting in the room beyond. Blood is splattered all over the room, and in the center, a white, bony creature is sitting there, unmoving. It's unlike anything we've seen before, with a build completely different to the enemies before it. Thus, we have no idea what to expect from a threat like this. It doesn't seem to be dead either, still idling in place. But the pool of blood surrounding it shows that it is in fact hurt. While all of the aliens we've attacked previously have had green blood, this blood is clearly red. While sure, this could be the blood of the soldier, it seems like way too much for that to be the case. Instead, it looks like it belongs to the creature. Why is it different in this way? What is this creature? We don't have the option to investigate further as the door is locked. We move on, heading upstairs where we find a vent. We crawl in, leading us to the next door over. Here, we meet a man named Marion, dressed in armor resembling the creature from before. He talks about the Giants, who he says are, just like us, looking for a way out, seemingly referring to that creature from before. He also tells us that to escape, we need to remove 3 power cells, which seem to be keeping the residents of this town trapped. These power cells were placed here by the Gate Company. What were they trying to do here? We exit the store, finding more signs of Gate. A Gate computer is set up in a truck just outside of the store. It has the recipe for a hazmat suit on it, though being in the portal already, it's a little too late. We press on, quickly stumbling upon something truly terrifying. A huge creature looms in the distance. Standing well above the surrounding streetlights, this creature is by far the biggest thing we've encountered yet. Its body seems to be made completely out of bones, with little bits of fleshy matter poking out of its chest. Despite this, it is strangely humanoid, and I start to wonder just what happened to the residents of this town. Perhaps they never left. What's more is that upon further analysis, this creature is clearly the creature we saw at the start of the area. The only difference was that the first giant we saw was cut at the torso with the legs nowhere to be found. We thought that that monster alone was terrifying, but to see the giant in its true form sends a chill down our spines. I fire a shot at it, but the game gives us a tip sprawling across the bottom of our screens. Some entities cannot be killed by your weaponry and should be avoided at all costs. This thing can't die. The mistake has already been made, however, and the giant is after us. I run to hide in a nearby truck and head to the sewers when I see an opening. The others aren't so lucky though. As I lower myself into the sewer, one of my friends gets downed. I emerge at a manhole further down the street, thinking that I'll be safe. I turn around to see that another giant has found me. It catches me off guard, and even with all of my armor, one-shots me with a single swipe. If it wasn't clear before, this is an S-grade enemy, lethal and invincible. You will not win. This being the final enemy type is absolutely genius. The whole game you are taught that with better weapons, you slowly grow to be able to kill the creatures that terrorized you before. This made us cocky, feeling like we could defeat anything if we progressed enough. Now we are faced with an enemy that is purely anti-survival game. No matter what we craft, no matter what tools we use, these things can't die. Now I regret splitting up from my friends. I start crawling my way towards them, but they seem so far away. I'm bleeding out fast too, and I'm not even sure it's possible to get to them in time. I pass one of the giants and get a closer look at it as it's no longer targeting me. I knew it was big, but being up close is when it really sinks in. I can hardly see its face from my spot on the ground. In fact, it barely has a face. No eyes, nose, or mouth. Only a bunch of holes seemingly placed randomly on its face. Despite the fact that its body is very humanoid, to call this anything near human feels wrong. I hobble on by until I see the silhouettes of my friends appear out of the fog. I've been saved. We regroup and start searching for some shelter, preferably away from the giants. We walk on ahead and stumble across an office building. It's the first building we've seen in a while without barricaded doors. Walking in, it seems like a town hall or something. Presumably the name of the town, Flat Hill, is plastered on the wall of the lobby. To the left, we find some office spaces, papers all over the floor. This place has a lot of storage too, and hoping to find some gear, we start looting. It's all empty, as if looted before. Probably the work of the few people still left in town. We head back to the lobby and turn right this time, taking us to the second floor. We quickly realize that all of the red doors seem to be locked, and so we end up finding a yellow door that lets us proceed. It leads us to the roof, where we find a large console. Attached is the first power cell. I remove it and the screen flashes pink again. To my right, a portal has formed, the same kind that we used to travel here. I'm confused. We've only gotten one of 3 power cells, and yet we're going back to the lab already? It doesn't seem right. At the moment, the portal isn't my biggest concern, however. Though I can't confirm it, it feels like the sleep meter goes down faster here. As such, despite sleeping before coming here, all of us were already exhausted. With no couches around, it seemed hopeless. But that's when we discovered a new mechanic. By pressing B, you can bring up an emote wheel. While this is mostly used just for fun, the sitting emote actually has a function. By sitting, you can refill your sleep meter extremely slowly. Still, in a situation like this, we have no other choice. We sit and we rest while we wait for one of our teammates to find his way up. Some time passes and I'm feeling a little antsy. I never thought I would say this, but I missed the lab. At least it was familiar to some degree, but everything here feels off. Fed up with waiting, I head into the portal alone. To my shock, it doesn't take me back to the lab. Rather, it takes me to the rooftop of another building in the area. I hop in a vent and head inside. This building seems to be the arcade, a location I spotted briefly before getting downed by the giants. The arcade is full of arcade machines, some still operational. The floor has the classic arcade flooring too, completing the look. Like all the other buildings though, it's abandoned, with the only sign of humans being some leftover nachos. We head to the second floor where another console is located. We take our second power cell and yet another portal opens up. If things go smoothly, this should lead us to the last power cell. The final power cell seems to be located in a library. The library is huge, with ceilings so high that in the fog, you almost can't see it. The bookshelves tower over you too, making you feel very small. The whole building is doused in fog, and the placement of the shelves make this place almost like a maze. Over the tops of the bookshelves, we see a silhouette. It seems that somehow this building has been taken over by giants. Running is no longer an option as we are closed in with them, and so the bookshelves become our only protection. We split up, hoping to find the exit as fast as possible. While this may seem unwise, with the discovery of the pager mechanic, communication has become much easier. Simply by tapping B, you can use the pager to communicate your location to your friends with a beep and a visual marker. This makes splitting up here more viable, as the person who finds the exit can just use the pager to call us over. We go our separate ways, and I find myself darting between the bookshelves. We eventually find a safe zone, but this isn't the exit. The exit is still out there somewhere, and we have yet to find it. Meanwhile, the giants begin surrounding us. It's now or never. I make a break for it, running into a locked door. I panic, but keep running, and I find myself outside, just barely escaping the giant. The giant approaches the door, and thinking I'm safe, I stand there, hoping to get another look at it. It then subverts all of my expectations by ducking down and squeezing its way through the doorway. It's a shocking moment where the game fully fooled me. For some reason, I and everyone else assumed that getting out meant being safe from these giants. After all, their model is too big to fit through the door, but that isn't the case. They clearly aren't stupid, and so something as simple as a slightly small doorway does nothing to stop them. I have never felt so outplayed by an enemy in a video game. Now I'm being chased with very little sprint left, and I just realized that I'm exhausted. I don't look back, but the earth-shattering sound of its footsteps tell me that it isn't far behind. Luckily, across the way is another building, this one with smaller doorways. I run inside, praying that somehow this monster hasn't outsmarted me again. I sit in the corner of the room, cowering in fear, using the sit emote to slowly regen my sleep. I hear the crash of the door being slammed open as the giant peers into the room. My worst fears have come true. I stand there with no other course of action. I am at the mercy of the giant. It reaches its long, spindly hand through the door, feeling around for something to grab at. It fails to find anything, and understanding that it can't fit through the doorway, it leaves to go wait for my friends instead. This sequence still plays in my mind sometimes. It is one of the scariest things that has ever happened to me in a video game. The feeling of not only being hunted, but by a monster that is truly intelligent is absolutely terrifying. My shit meter may have been fine in game, but I can confidently say that my pants were in fact shat. Meanwhile, my friend somehow managed to escape the giant while in an office chair, so I don't know, maybe I'm just stupid. Finally, all back together again, we sit around for a while, mostly to regen our sleep meter, but also because we are all a little bit shaken up. The giants are no joke. We collect ourselves and head to the upstairs portion of this new building. It's another office, but the fog is extra thick here. The place is pretty empty, but there is a gate computer sitting in one of the offices. In it, there's an email about an IC0064, who is being contained in Flat Hill by Gate. Looking at the picture attached, IC0064 seems to be referring to the giants. Though it is unclear what these monsters are, my theory is still that they are humans. They look nothing like the aliens from before, and in fact have very human features, including their red blood. Further, according to Marion, no one can get out of this area, as it's been contained by Gate. Thus, the townspeople had to have gone somewhere, but maybe they never left at all. Maybe, being exposed to the odd environment, these people became the giants. This is further supported by Marion's claim that even the giants are trying to escape. Despite being monsters, these former people still know that they want out. Either way, it is clear from this email that Gate is at least responsible for containing this area. Depending on how right my theory is, this paints Gate out to be a bit of a shady company. There's also a voice log here from a Dr. Mance. He tells us about why Gate came here in the first place. Supposedly, due to their portal experiments, Flat Hill somehow became a hub for otherworldly energy, resulting in beings like IC0064, the giants, appearing. Despite this, rather than stopping their work with portals, Flat Hill was seen as a necessary sacrifice, and was sealed off from the rest of the world. This is a town doomed by Gate. Gate wasn't the hero who sealed off the monsters to protect the rest of the world, but rather a company that aimed to keep its mistakes hidden. This isn't what we signed up for. We press on, finding an elevator up to the last power cell. The elevator opens up to a room much like the library. This time, however, it's server racks that stretch on high into the ceiling. It's also far more claustrophobic in here, with the walkways between the server racks being very narrow. The main thing that takes our focus, though, is the giant standing right in front of us. Without much thinking, we run in different directions, hoping to confuse the monster. We run aimlessly for a while, but after taking 2 hits, just barely surviving the second one, we make it to a safe room. Low on health and surrounded by giants, we run into a vent. None of us saw a clear way out, but I did see a ladder. To get there though, we'll need to get on top of the server racks, possibly by going up the stairs, but there's a giant there preventing our access. We don't have much choice, and so I make a break for it, heading upstairs and maneuvering the giants in a way that lets me get past. I don't do this without getting hit, however, but we're alive. We jump across the servers, where we get to see the whole area. We stand a little too close to the edge and the giants swing at us, but we're out of their reach. Somehow, we have made it to the last power cell. We grab the power cell, eager to get out of here, and with a flash, a purple portal opens up. We're going home. Once again, not before failing to teleport a few times. We appear back in the level 3 offices with a power cell in hand. We are told to finally access the manufacturing sector. We make it back to the forklift and place the power cell. The door slowly opens and the manufacturing sector is revealed. We are one step closer to our escape. While the demo cuts here, I am more than happy with what we did get to play. This game has provided me with so many firsts. It's the first time that I've ever given a shot to such a small game, and it's the first time I've been so completely enthralled by such a game. It's the first time I've forgotten I was playing a demo, and it's the first time that a survival game has made me, the player, feel like the hunted. When it comes to survival horror, this game is truly a hidden gem, and despite its clear Half-Life inspiration, I think it's a game that is made better by this fact. It takes aspects from a world that is clearly dear to its developers and makes it into something completely different. Though the game isn't perfect and definitely has some glitches, I hope that this video has convinced you to all try it out at the very least. If you like it, the full release is just around the corner, coming out on May 2nd this year. And if it isn't your thing, well then, why did you watch this long? What's wrong with you?